The Republican Party is at a crossroads, and its next moves could shape politics in the United States and around the world. Will Mandanhi's win in New York unite one nation under God with liberty and justice for all, or deepen divisions further in the United States of America? Should we release those Jeffrey Epstein files, and will Gavin Newsom be the next president of the United States? Well, joining me to discuss all of this is Angie Wong. Angie knows all too well how the game of politics works. Today, we dissect it all. I'm Kaylem, and this is The Memo. Angie, thank you so much for spending part of your Thanksgiving with us. How's it going so far? Is the bread in the oven?
Yeah, I have some bread in the oven. The turkey has not gone in yet, but that's going to happen right after this. And, it's great because I never thought I would be, spending Thanksgiving here with lots of Brits.
Aw.
So you and my husband and my children. So, we've got a bit of a blended situation happening politically, historically, and also with our food. I think we're going to have some English dishes as
Ooh.
part of the dinner table tonight.
Take me back. You have been an investigative journalist for some time. You spent some time in Asia. What was the moment that you realized political commentary was for you?
Well, it's all hand in hand because the truth is usually the first casualty of politics, right? And we always want to just dig and dig and dig to find out really what's going on. So, going into politics was always kind of a bit tricky. I've always wanted to go in. Certainly, there were forces that did not want me going in because one of my first jobs was actually in Hong Kong. And to report on politics in a Chinese city was very, very difficult. It is all smoke and mirrors. It is all propaganda. And you kind of had to go with it to be a working journalist. You had to go along with whatever narrative the papers were selling to you. And if you didn't, you literally could be killed. So I had to really be touch and go. I actually wrote a lot more about lifestyle and travel and food.
Yes, I was going to
Food,
say, you're
yes.
massive in the food scene.
I was big on the food scene
Yeah.
because I couldn't talk directly at politics and politicians and the leaders of various countries.
Yeah.
I would talk around it using food metaphors.
Yeah.
It was really weird, but it was like my own little game that I would play
Yeah.
where I was like, yeah, we describe food and restaurants and the dining scene, but in reality, we were inserting a lot of politics into that because that was allowed and that was allowed to be published. So that was a really weird scene where your editors were also afraid of the government and they wouldn't publish certain things. But if you put it within the cap of food and lifestyle and travel and shopping, then that's okay. So I think my audience got what I was trying to go for. It didn't always work, but that's the only way you could really talk about politics in that part of the world at that particular time. So I had a lot of fun. And then coming back here, to the US, the whole scene was all screwed up. So I was just like, all right, let's just cut through it.
Yeah.
Let's just call out a couple of people. I just like calling out the bad guys. I don't know about you, but
Who's
I
the
love
bad
calling out the
guys?
bad guys. Oh man, there's so much naughtiness in politics, right? You know this.
Yeah.
And everyone's got something to hide. Everyone's got something to promote. Everyone's got something. And I'll tell you, it's really difficult to do. It started off as a side gig, right? I just enjoyed it. I like reporting. I like the media of it. But if I had to make my money in journalism, man, I would have been canceled a long time ago. I would not be eating.
Yeah. There's no money in journalism. Okay, Angie, let's talk politics. A poll showed that 46% of Americans do not trust Trump's economic plan. Do you agree with that poll?
Well, it depends on who did the poll and how many people participated in that poll. I buy a lot of polls for my politicians. But, at 46%, that doesn't sound terrible to me, given that there was already a lot of hatred for President Trump even before he came into a second term already. So 46, I'll take that because he's still on the winning side of that poll.
Yeah.
Just
about.
Just about. And again, a lot of presidents, they don't have great polling, not after a year. But it doesn't matter because he's still going to be our president for the next 4 years. Well, 3.5. So here's the thing. His economic plan, and I see why people are frustrated, he has a very, very long runway for his plans to really take off. Take, for example, the tariffs. They don't come to fruition right away. People are really, they want instant gratification. The reality is, for any of his plans to take off, will take probably over 2 years. And that's really even being very super speedy. A lot of tariff plans, even prior to Trump, takes 2 to 3 years just to start implementing. So you're not going to see the results right away. And unfortunately, people are not patient. They have gas to pump into their cars, eggs to buy, and groceries and insurance and all that stuff. And it's really built up. And I feel it.
I was going to say, how have you been affected?
I mean, the American price tag is certainly very, very high compared to previous years. And but it's been a ramp up, right? So ever since COVID, things have really started to kind of creep up, and it never went down. That's the thing. When prices go up, they rarely, rarely, rarely ever go down. I think with President Trump, we've gotten our gas prices under control. I remember seeing gas prices at close to $7 a gallon here. Now it's back down to 3. I think that is something that we should really congratulate President Trump and his team for doing, because that is the one thing that literally fuels America. But eggs are still extremely expensive. Why is that, right? So I love to see that. The other thing that we're feeling big time here is the insurance costs. A lot of our insurance, unfortunately, are driven by activist maps. I can tell you where I am currently. Projections of flood zones and bad weather patterns. And all of this is like 10-year projections. And a lot of it is fueled by politics, right? But yet your insurance company is going to say, well, you have a house that is nowhere near the water, but there could be a flood, because that's what our maps say. And then therefore we're going to charge you those premiums. So you're starting to see that it's becoming more and more difficult for young people here in America to buy into the American dream. And I know that from the people, especially the younger folks that I speak with. They cannot buy in the same way their parents have bought in. They can't buy their first home. They can barely buy a car. And they already walk out of college or university with a lot of debt. They're already in the red at the start of their lives. So I can see that's the frustration, and I can see now why affordability is going to be the key word come the midterms in 2026.
And Angie, you are a native New Yorker. Do you think that's the reason Mandanhi won? He wants to lower prices.
Well, Mandanhi won because he was actually a really good candidate and a really good campaigner. What he sells and what Democrats do very, very well is that they sell hope. They sell dreams. Even if it's all fantasy, they sell it and people buy it and they vote accordingly. Already the governor, who has to sign off on all this stuff, has already said, no, you're not going to get a free bus. There's no free groceries. Get out of here. That's not happening. But it was sold to the New York public as such. So I think he won because he actually was a really good candidate. And that's sometimes all it takes. And then you figure out how the administration runs after that. I think he had a great meeting with President Trump the other day. I think they worked out something. And they're going to work together, which is what I want to see more and more of. I mean, clearly you have Zohran Mamdani, who's the new face of the Democrat Party. And then you have Donald Trump, who is the face, the man, the Don of the Republican Party. And they were together, working together.
And Trump was smiling.
Trump, of course, is smiling. Look, you know what you don't realize in that Oval Office was that there were 2 boys from Queens, New York, hanging out at the Oval Office, and they control the country now, right? And that was why I was laughing the whole time, because it's like, I know I'm from Queens. I know these guys. Like it's like they let you have the keys to our country. So I love that they're together, they're joining forces, and it's the left and the right realizing these are the power parties of our country. These guys are going to make major decisions that's going to affect all of us. And I'm glad they're working together.
Let's get to serious matters here, Angie. You're on CNN recently, and you basically said that you don't want the Epstein files to be released. Why would you?
I didn't say that.
Did.
No,
You said
I didn't care about it.
You said it wasn't important to Americans.
No.
It is important, right?
Maybe. Honestly, I feel like it's a dead story.
But what
It's a
about the
story
victims,
that,
Angie?
and I got blasted for it because I said I didn't care, that I cared more about affordability and economic issues than I did about a dead man.
Mm,
And that's what, and I get it. I was heartless and I didn't care about the victims, and that's what it came across, even though that's not what I meant.
mm.
I do care about the victims. I mean, I have an entire organization that protects women and children from online harassment. So that clearly extends to offline as well. And unfortunately, I just don't care for a rehash of the Epstein story just because Democrats faced a major loss days prior with a government shutdown. They got nothing. So they had to pivot the narrative immediately to anything else because they could not stay in that space where they were losers.
Do you not think it's national importance? It's important for the national public to know if politicians are in those files.
I think a lot of the names have already been released. I think there's been many pictures of Bill Clinton and Bill Gates at Epstein's Island. I think that,
Donald
is
Trump
it
was
at
also
that?
a friend of Epstein too, videos and photos.
Oh, sure. And again, there's a lot of politicians, a lot of powerful men and women who are part of all this. That can happen all in the background, you guys. I don't need that to be front page news.
Mm.
This story has been going on forever, and when it comes out, it comes out. And I'll be very happy when the victims are actually compensated, because that's where all this goes. The criminal cases are pretty much done,
Mm.
right? Jeffrey Epstein's dead. Ghislaine Maxwell, she's in prison. She, and that is going to take its course throughout the criminal cases, but it's really now a civil court case,
Mm.
right, amongst the victims. And they want to be compensated. And I understand that. But that is a long process in the US courts that they're going to have to walk through. I don't need, the 6 p.m. news every single day to walk us through a civil case. Not something that is not as important as other things happening here in the US and overseas. So that's what I meant by that. And I love it. I mean, every time I go on CNN, I always get blasted because they always want to punch down
The
the
Republican.
Republican.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
say. Angie, Donald Trump's known for his temper, his brash words. Do you think we need to lower the temperature when it comes to politics? We saw the assassination of Charlie Kirk this year. How do we lower the temperature in politics?
So I've been thinking a lot about that this Thanksgiving. I'm actually doing a show this evening about how the two sides can come together in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death, as well as what happened just yesterday in Washington,
Of
D.C.,
course.
where two service members were gunned down in broad daylight by what seems to be someone that we had let in that is tied to terrorism. So, it's political rhetoric that has gone way too far. Um, it's not just Donald Trump. Yeah, he might have started a gunfight, but it's both sides are fighting like crazy right now. You have Democrats calling for military and intelligence officers to deflect from President Trump's orders. I mean, it's gotten so over the top. The American people are caught in the middle, and now there's gunfire. Okay, all over the place.
Mm.
I don't want to turn this into a gun issue. This is not a left-right gun issue. This is really about how some people take political rhetoric to political violence. And that is a headspace that I won't understand because I do fight with my words all day long.
Yeah.
But will I pick up a gun and shoot my opponent? No.
Mm.
I think that is crazy. And I think that some people really cross the line there. And I
Do you think
don't.
the answer would be taking away guns?
No, because you will never have the Second Amendment amended to take away guns. That's not happening. I think it's a pipe dream. Democrats would love to have that happen. In fact, I was just debating someone on air a few hours ago about this very issue. It's not about the gun.
Hey everybody, I'm Kaylem Shepherd. Thank you very much for watching the podcast. Please just take a second to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure it's available on your podcast app. That can be Spotify, it can be Apple. The Memo with me, Kaylem Shepherd, wherever you get your podcast. Once again, thank you for watching.
There's a lot of guns. It's not about the gun. It's the intent. It's the guy who pulls the trigger and screams all sorts of political slang as he's basically trying to kill two service members. That, I don't know how to stop that. I am not well equipped to even be able to understand how to stop that. All I can tell you is that these words really do affect people. And I hate I hate censorship. I don't want to censor anybody, but
Wasn't Donald Trump censoring universities?
how?
Harvard.
How is he censoring them?
He was not wanting people to protest, revoking their visas.
Well, I think revoking their visas, I'm not sure if it has anything necessarily to do with protesting, especially since they're not Americans, right? Look, I went to Columbia University. I was there when the protests began in April of 2024. I was there stuck on the campus covering it in a great way. And I will tell you, a lot of it is being fueled by foreign money and by foreign actors. A lot of these protesters are being paid. You can see how organized they are. I don't believe that this is completely organic. So that's my take from being on the inside of that and having to report from the people stirring up the trouble. So in regards to the visas, well, I think we should be looking at these visas because now you see most American universities, at least the top American universities, over half of their student body is foreign. I'm okay with that. But if you're going to cause trouble while you're a guest in my country, we're going to have some issues and we may have to, review your visa. So I think that is, look, I'm not going to go to Rome and cause trouble there. I know I'll get kicked out. I know I may be banned from the entire country. You have to, you have to have a certain code of standard and behavior at any of these universities anyway. So no one's trying to stop anyone from protesting. I wouldn't want to do that. But when it leads to violence or when you're inciting violence, no, we got to put a cap.
Yeah, let's talk about the future of the GOP. Do you think Donald Trump, we spoke about this last time, do you think he'll be VP and let Vance be president so he can stay in power?
I think President Trump is going to push through as much as he can over the next 3.5 years that he has left as president. And then he may just retire and play golf, and he's always going to be the kingmaker for as long as he lives. He really has a rule over the Republican Party and he is the kingmaker. But political winds shift so quickly now. I mean, you would have thought that J.D. Vance was going to be the next president of the United States. But now it's like, we're not sure.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of players that have come in recently.
And do you think the Democrats will jump back and they could win the next election? Could Newsom be the president of the United States?
I think Newsom's made a lot of errors already, errors that could be forgiven, especially since Democrats really like him. I think there's a good chance that Democrats are going to do whatever it takes to gain any sort of power back because they know that if they don't win in the next election, that they're going to be the permanent minority party going forward. You know why they have to win is because they're losing their donor base. And donors want to see winners. If they can't produce any winners, they're going to stop donating. So you see the cycle here. On top of all that, as we're doing all these Doge efforts in our country, we're finding out that Democrats are washing a lot of federal dollars through various NGOs, through healthcare insurance companies, et cetera, through all these programs that are supposed to be for every American, but they're washing money back into their campaigns. And we're starting to see more and more of these cases. That's what I would like to see at 6 p.m. on the news. And they can't do that anymore under Donald Trump. They're not able to wash trillions of dollars back into their various campaigns. So now that's the interesting thing that I'm looking at is if they can't finance, they can't be a majority party.
Well, Kamala Harris got loads of money when she was running.
Yes, and according to Nicole Maliotakis, who's a representative, a congresswoman from New York, about 90% of the money that Kamala Harris, the $1.7 billion that was in her campaign coffers, came from insurance companies.
What can I say? Angie Wong, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving from across the pond.
Hey everybody, I'm Kaylem Shepherd. Thank you very much for watching the podcast. Please just take a second to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make sure it's available on your podcast app. That can be Spotify, it can be Apple. The Memo with me, Kaylem Shepherd, wherever you get your podcast. Once again, thank you for watching.